Cheers, booktube. Don't worry, it's just lemonade. I'm not I'm not drinking another alcoholic beverage for a video. But I'm trying to think of a funny joke. I might have needed an alcoholic beverage to help me get through this book a little easier, because today we're talking about We Who Are About To by Joanna Russ. Forgive probably my very scattered thoughts that will come through this video. I took a chance, and I'm in swim trunks right now. I tried to go and record this review on my paddleboard out on the lake. I tried numerous takes. It was windy. It started to rain, and I could not keep myself, like, I was paddling around, like holding the mic like this and trying to keep my eyes on the water with other boats out there and that kind of thing. And then the final straw was Water Patrol came up to me to make sure that I had my paddleboard registered, because they couldn't see my stickers. Um, so it's been kind of a mess of a day trying to get this reviewed. But we're giving it another college try, and we're going to talk about this deeply. I don't want to call it depressing, because it's like I enjoyed reading this, kind of. Um, this is probably the darkest book I read of the 25 book challenge that I did. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that could kind of measure up to this in terms of like the gnarly parts, because this doesn't have like any positive moments. And I don't mean that in like a way where you will just hate this book, but if you want something lighter, if you want something thought provoking in a way that is like nice to read, don't pick this book up. If you want to journey into a deep dark hole, I say this in the middle of summer. I'm in shorts and a t-shirt on a sunny day. You can hear the birds. Like, if you want to just take yourself down a deep, dark, depressing hole in the middle of beautiful weather, read this book, because it's great. Russ doesn't pull any punches in this book. Her very, I want to call it, unflinching style of writing is extremely powerful, and at some points kind of hard to read, because she doesn't shy away from the gruesome. I don't mean that in like a gory body horror type of way. I just mean that in a very like uncomfortable. You're kind of squirming reading certain parts, because they hit pretty hard, and the themes in this book are very timely too. As a man, I don't think I have. I don't know how much room I have to speak on gender issues, as far as like a book written by a female in the when was this published? I want to say 60s. Let's see what we got here. I want to be careful of the book. Oh, 1975. First printing was 1977, but it appeared in Galaxy first. Portions did. So yeah, in the 70s, when this book was written by a female, about a female, in a world where I think power dynamics of male-female relationships are being discussed and wrestled with and that kind of thing, I'm not going to sit here and make some big statement about it, because I don't think that's my place. I think my place in reading Russ and reading other female writers of this time is to try to look at their works from a critical point of view, where they're the fact that they're females doesn't change the it doesn't change the power of the writing. In fact, I think in ways like in this book, it enhances it, because it's coming from a place of real experience. And what I mean by this is, and just stay with me, we follow a female protagonist who is kind of wrestling with herself throughout the whole entire book. wrestling with other people, especially males who are trying to just kind of dominate this little mini society. I don't even know if have I talked about the plot yet. I've tried to do this review several times, so I'm kind of fuzzy on what I have and haven't said already. So forgive. Um, I'll run through the plot so that I can make this point that I'm trying to say. Hopefully, circle back. Um, we follow this group of humans who has crash landed on a planet, probably in this right here in the cover. They crash land. They start to realize that their supplies and their situation is not going to allow them to last much longer, and so they start to kind of try to figure out, okay, what is our next step? What are we going to do? And they fight about it. They have different points of view, and one thing that comes up that I think is really that kind of again circles back to the point that I was trying to make when I like inserted into the middle of the plot. The female protagonist, who is like in her 30s, I want to say, I could be totally wrong about that, but she's autonomous and in charge of herself, an adult female. The males try to kind of take over this little mini, kind of pop up colony, impromptu colony, we'll say. And they try to take control of the reproductive rights of the females, essentially, which that's what I meant by kind of squirmy, very timely things that are being discussed. And so we get this view of the protagonist who's just like, fighting against these kind of overpowering males. And what I was trying to say, I guess, before was that I think myself as a male reader, I can only like, my experience only goes so deep into what she's trying to say. I think I'm having a hard time explaining, I guess, what I'm trying to say, but I just think that it's important for everybody, not only, um, you know, female readers who want to be seen and want to experience something that I think they'll resonate with, that it will, this kind of thing will resonate with them. This story, especially, will resonate with them. But male readers, especially, should challenge themselves with some of these things, because I don't know what it's like to have somebody tell me what to do with my reproductive rights, and that whole conversation in the background in our modern day society and everything. I'm not trying to make some political point. I'm just saying that I think that the fact that this was written 50 years ago now still speaks to something that we're dealing with like right now, is just pretty powerful. And so I just I have a lot of admiration for Russ, because we live in a much different time now. You can say a lot of these things now and it's kind of commonplace, more or less. Um, it's way more accepted to speak like this, um, making points that Russ does. I don't think it was very common back then. And so I just think that writers like Russ, like Le Guin, Margaret St. Clair, Lee Brackett, James Tiptree Jr., which was a pen name. I can't think of her real name off the top of my head. I'm forgetting. Tanith Lee. Um, Female writers of this time period, I think, are really, really valuable to read, because not only are the stories, the science fiction tales, great and really powerful and unique, they're written by someone from a different perspective that I think it just adds a little bit more to a story sometimes. And in this case, it certainly does. I don't know if I love how I put all that. I feel weird about it, but it's coming from a place of really like an admiration of Russ, admiration of her bravery at the time of writing something like this. And so, plot and characters and everything aside, I think if you're willing to dig into a book that's pretty challenging, um, I would pick this book up. I would find a copy of it and I would read it, because I'm both like excited and scared to read more Russ now, knowing the kind of journey she took us on. And I mean, this book is short. It's 170 pages. Um, it's yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what more, if anything, I want to say about all that, because it was clunky and obtuse the way I think I said it. But read female science fiction authors; they have a lot to say, and I think that they were overlooked by many at the time, and probably still. And I just think that it's cool to look back on a book it is 50 years old and see things that are extremely relevant being talked about. So I don't know exactly what I would give this book score wise. I almost feel weird scoring it because it is not something that it's like 5 stars. It just sounds very silly to give a book like this. But um, that being said, it's probably a good 9 out of 10. It's very powerful, and aesthetically, I'm very captivated by this book. I don't really know why. The green text block, teal text block helps. The cover, the it's an old Dell printing, um, third printing, I want to say. Let's see what we got here. Second printing, 1978, I think. Found this at the back of a bookstore that I love, North Kansas City, and I brought it home and it was just staring at me on the shelf, and I was like, I got to put that in my top 20. Not top, I can always say top 25. I got to put that in my 25 book challenge. And my goal with that challenge was to read as many powerful authors, impactful authors to the genre as I could. And I'm really glad Russ was included. Le Guin was also included. Tanith was also included. So, like I said, I've gotten a good sample of female writers at the time and what they have to say, and it's just a cool thing to see. So, go back and experience their works. It's awesome. I hope I didn't offend anybody by trying to explain how I feel about this book and how I feel about the greater impact that it, I believe, has or can have. So take what I say with a grain of salt. I'm just some guy who likes to read science fiction, but who's trying to discuss it in a meaningful way. So if you have thoughts about the themes in this book, you know, feel free to talk about them in the comments. But please, like, let's keep everything civil and try to talk about the try to talk about it with a, like I said, a critical eye, and not just be, you know, maybe obtuse like I was. Uh, Whatever. How many times have I tried to shoot this review? This has gone off the rails several times. I'm gonna take another drink of my refreshing lemonade. I'm gonna gather my thoughts and try to go shoot another review video soon, and start chipping away at this 20 list of 25, because I am really enjoying talking about these books, recounting kind of my feelings about them. It's been fun so far, and so with that, that's been Dad Like Book, and I thank you for watching. I thank you for subscribing, commenting, engaging with me on here. It's been a lot of fun. It'll continue to be a lot of fun. I'll see you in the next review video. Take care of yourself.